Welcome to 3-Minute Ed. I'm Dr. Rodney Rock, and today I want to share with you some stories and resources around restoration. Today I took part in a Bible study where I heard some stories of restoration. It led me to think more about this idea and to look up other stories. One that I heard of, or that I read about, was a pastor, Peter Miller, who was in Pennsylvania during the Revolutionary War. Pastor Miller was beloved by his church. There was a neighbor, however, to the church named Michael Whitman who hated Pastor Miller. He ridiculed him every chance he got and just let it be known that he did not care for him, just mean-spirited. Later, Whitman was in the Continental Army and was accused of deserting and of behavior that was inconsistent with the values of a soldier. He was a traitor. When Miller heard of this, he walked 60 miles to ask General Washington to forgive Miller, to give him another chance. When Washington first saw Miller come forward, he said, "Why should I forgive your friend?" And Miller retorted, "He's not my friend, he's my worst enemy." Washington then decided to go ahead and pardon Whitman for his crimes. Pastor Miller then ran 15 miles to the site of the execution and let the executioners know of the pardon, and Whitman's life was spared. The two became lifelong friends. I also read a story of an immigrant who, along with several of his friends, had broken into churches in the state of Texas. This person was found guilty and sentenced to prison and to deportation. The person wrote a letter to the church, and the pastor received it and asked the young man to come to the church and speak to the people, where he asked again for forgiveness, which was granted. The young man was deported, later became involved in mission work, and became a pastor. Another story that I read was of a young couple who were dating in college, and the woman became pregnant, and the couple decided to have an abortion. Later, the young woman married a different man, and they tried to have children and couldn't. And the woman really had a hard time forgiving herself. She blamed herself. She suffered trauma. She really struggled. So she went on to found a group of people who supported young people who might be facing the same kind of decision, or even those who may have had an abortion, and helping them to deal with the decisions they made and helping them to restore themselves. The Zaire Institute brings forward this definition of restorative justice: that the wrong needs to be named and acknowledged. Those who have been harmed need to be able to grieve their losses, to be able to tell their stories, to have their questions answered. That is, to have the harms and needs caused by the offenses addressed. They and we need to have those who have done wrong accept their responsibility and take steps to repair the harm to the extent possible. Our prisons in America are uniquely overfilled, especially with black people, black men. We often hear of this school to prison pipeline. Is this the best we can do in our country? Do we want to spend more money on prisons than we do schools? Many institutions, schools, justice systems, and churches are turning to restorative practices. as the story of the young mother, the young pregnant woman, often we're our harshest critics. We're the slowest to forgive ourselves. We live day in and day out with shame and guilt, and we continue to punish ourselves over and over again for the decisions we make. Maybe it's time we started teaching children a different way of thinking about mistakes and help them not to just get away with things or to behave in ways that are inappropriate, but the restoration, the speaking of their issues, the talking to people they hurt, for people to listen and to resolve harm. Maybe these are skills we need throughout life. Here are some additional ideas on restorative justice and practices. And here are some resources. I hope that you'll get something out of this discussion today, that you as a school leader or a teacher or a parent, community leader, maybe a church leader, might think about these ideas and how they could affect you, the people you lead, the people you serve, the children we all serve. If you like my 3-minute eds, I ask that you sign up in YouTube, subscribe if you would, tell thousands of your friends, and share your ideas. Thanks for caring, for being human, for making a difference, for listening. Be well.